So the TESSA study investigates the effect of a pomegranate extract on levels of a compound called TMAO. So TMAO stands for trimethylamine N oxide, and it is linked to cardiovascular disease. So that's why we are interested in it.
TMAO is something that your body makes, so that has an effect on things like heart disease and other health implications down the line.
I wanted to be part of it, really. Just anything to help with research. You know, if it could benefit people from it. There's a history of heart disease in my family anyway, so because it was linked to possible benefits towards prevention or of heart disease, and then that piqued my interest as well.
We have seen in the lab here at the Quadram Institute that if we use a pomegranate extract, we can inhibit the production of a precursor of TMAO, which is called TMA, or trimethylamine, and this is produced by gut microbiota. So in the TESSA study, we investigate if the pomegranate extract can reduce TMA and consequently TMAO in the blood. The TESSA study was a two-phase randomized controlled crossover study. So in the first phase, we invited 34 participants to come into the Quadram Institute, and they received an oral carnitine response test. And the oral carnitine response test will result in increase in TMAO levels, but because it's partly produced by the gut microbiome, it will vary a lot between participants. So some people may produce TMAO, whereas others may not. And we found that about 90% produce TMAO. And then when they did produce it, they would be invited to phase 2. And in phase 2, they actually underwent this crossover study where they consumed again the oral L-carnitine response test, but this time with a pomegranate extract and on a different occasion with a placebo. And then we compared for every participant how they responded to the pomegranate extract versus how they responded to the placebo. And during this time, they would come into the institute during 6 visits. So they had 3 visits where for 48 hours they would eat exactly the meals we gave them. They would collect all their urine, and blood samples were collected at 12 different time points. And they also collected a fecal sample before and after the intervention, because we can see from the fecal sample how the gut microbiome changed.
So I had to come up do blood tests and check I was going to be suitable, do some questionnaires. And then after that, and they said, yes, I was. I then had to do some more bloods. And then I was put on a set diet. So like I had to behave myself from what I ate for the couple of days before. Then when I was on the project, on the research, I actually was given my food and everything was logged and had to do that. So I got a bit of getting used to, but it was all stuff I potentially would eat anyway, so it's all fine.
It's all vegetarian, sort of meat-free food, which I'm not a vegetarian. I don't eat a lot of meat, but I'm not a vegetarian. So I didn't find it difficult because I found the meals in themselves were quite tasty.
Then there was a couple of blood test times. Then it was in here for a whole day, which could have been a bit awkward, but it wasn't. It was a nice friendly atmosphere, read a book, had my laptop. So it was all quite chilled, and then had a couple of weeks and did it again.
So we did the human study here at the clinical research facility in the Quadram Institute. So the nurses there were involved in taking the blood samples and being with the participants mostly and doing medical questionnaires. And then we have the human studies team here at the Quadram Institute who supported the study. And then the group by Dr. Paul Kroon. He is the chief investigator of the study, and altogether it's a very large group of people involved.
There was always someone around, so to ask questions and to help you, or if you were feeling unwell, I think. And there was always the option to, I was always asked to whether I would like to continue with the study, and I think that made me feel quite comfortable.
It was, I'll say tough at times. It's because you were on a strict regime of when you could eat, what you could eat. It wasn't tough. There was plenty of food, too much food to eat almost, but the process itself, everyone was very, very conscious of how did I feel at all times, did I mind a needle being stuck into me, things like that. All of my concerns were taken care of.
And down the line, we're going to be able to see if we can see different changes in gut microbiome and if the pomegranate extract or not had a different change on these people.
And then also over at the Norfolk and Norwich University Hospital, they were testing the baseline bloods for liver function and full blood counts, just to make sure that participants were overall healthy, which actually for participants is a very nice health check at the same time, which is a benefit of really participating in human studies here at the Quadram Institute. So initially, when we looked at all the results, we saw that there is not necessarily an effect by the pomegranate extract. However, it looks like when you stratify by age and gender, there actually seems to be an effect among men and premenopausal women, which is very interesting. There have been several reports where postmenopausal women have been found to have a different metabolism of TMAO. And we have several postmenopausal women in the study. When we exclude those women from the analysis, we see that there is a significant 15% reduction in TMAO levels when they consume pomegranate extract. So that's a very exciting finding. It's a preliminary finding. And aside from that, we also saw that we can kind of predict how much TMAO people produce based on the L-carnitine they consume in their diets. So a higher L-carnitine intake was correlated with a greater TMAO response, which makes sense because L-carnitine is a precursor for TMAO. So when you consume L-carnitine, partly will go to the colon, where we have the largest composition of gut microbiota, and the gut microbiota will then produce TMA from the L-carnitine, and in the liver that's then converted to TMAO. So it's a long process, but that's why L-carnitine tended to be correlated with greater TMAO response. I have to say though that our study population was 16 people, of which there were 3 postmenopausal women, so we're talking about very small sample sizes. But it does really demonstrate how important it is to focus on studies where we look at effects by gender. So women are completely different in their metabolism compared to men. So this is very interesting to study for future research and see what is exactly happening in women and specifically in postmenopausal women regarding metabolism of TMAO. I think it's very good for the research to participate because without volunteers, we won't be able to do it. We are very grateful for all the participants for the TESSA study.
So we're always looking to answer questions in real life. So we have questions that we want to answer in the lab, and this is the next stage of seeing how it actually affects people in real life human models rather than just in lab models. So it's really, really important. We also want a wide variety of people in these studies because we're seeing over time that different diseases and different scenarios affect different populations differently.
Do it, because it's so interesting, and it's a case of if you don't know, you will never know. You've got to try it. I'm all for trying new things, and it was so simple actually, because you think, oh, it could be a bit daunting, but when you come here it's quite relaxed and everyone's friendly, and it wasn't scary at all. So yeah, I would just say just give it a go.
That you are contributing to the science. Like, this science is so important because in the lab we saw a very strong effect, but then in humans we see that there are all these differences between different age and different gender. So that's why it's super important to look in real human participants rather than just in the lab. So if anyone is thinking about participating in studies, I would very much recommend it.
I'd go for it. It's, your health and well-being are taken care of and are considered at all points during the study. You're not kind of a guinea pig that people are just experimenting on. The process itself was explained thoroughly. The communication was excellent throughout. So I'd say, yeah, go for it. It won't do you any harm, but it potentially will do a lot of good for other people. So go for it.
We have the Quadram Institute website that's always talking about different studies that we're looking for, but you can also sign up to our database, and then we'll contact you if there's a study that we're recruiting for.